right. Well, everybody, it's election season, and this is a fun time on Valley Happenings because I get to introduce you to the people, and I've been doing this for ever since I started, since 1999, having elected officials come on my show. And out of all those years, since 1999, no elected official running has ever said no to coming on this show. And I am just honored by that, beyond anything that I could tell you. Well, we're going to talk about the two candidates that are in a runoff for July 14th, and that is for a district court judge in Morgan County.
Right.
Okay. And with us right now is Emily Baggett. And Emily came into my life last year. I never knew Emily, and she was down there being the city prosecutor. And who do you work for, like Herman, or who is your boss?
Herman is the city attorney, and I report to Herman Marks, the city attorney,
Okay.
as the city prosecutor.
So,
and
we had an issue here, and we had to go to city court because we were prosecuting. And there's Emily Baggett. That's where I meet her. And what a process.
It is definitely a process.
And it's very crowded.
Yes, it's very crowded. We have a lot of people in city court, and we try to get through as fast as we can, but we do have a generally pretty big crowd in city court. We have a large number of cases.
Yeah, I mean, and that's lots and lots of different type of things. Different types of, they're not really criminal offense. Yeah, you could go to jail.
Ma'am.
Sure you can.
There are city ordinance violations which can come from the police department, the revenue department, animal services. We have those. We also have community development violations. But we also prosecute violations, misdemeanors class A, B, and C, misdemeanors in city court as city code as city violations as well. So there are criminal actions, and we do put people in jail. We do. And unfortunately, sometimes we get to that point where that's the only option we have for some people, that they have to be put in jail.
Okay, now Emily, you've been the prosecutor for how long?
10.5 years for the city of Decatur.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to college. I went to high school at Decatur High. I graduated from Decatur High. Then I went to college at Mississippi University for Women in Columbus, Mississippi, and then got my law degree from Cumberland School of Law at Stanford University in 2003.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you've been all over.
I have been all over. Been all over a little bit. I got some great advice, though, from an attorney, John Eister, who's passed away, that gave me some great advice when I graduated from college. And he sat me down and said, Emily, or right actually before college, he said, you really want to be a lawyer, don't you? And I said, yes, I've wanted to be a lawyer since I was 13. He said, well, if you can get that undergraduate degree paid for and go somewhere where they pay you to go to school or they give you a full scholarship, do that, because you're probably going to be paying for that law degree. And so that's what I was blessed to have a full scholarship to Mississippi University for Women, where I got to attend the school where my mom attended. So we both graduated from there. 25 years apart, exactly. So I was actually ended up getting paid to go to school for undergrad. So I used part of that money that I saved to then pay for my law school.
Yeah, and people don't understand that. I mean, people in their 50s and 60s are still paying off their school loans.
Right.
I mean, any child that can come out of college without a loan is just, it's a blessing.
It is. It definitely is a blessing when you want a graduate degree, for sure.
Okay, so you are running for Morgan County District Court Judge.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, District Court Judge, you hear a lot of cases, and it's the replacement of Judge Langham, Charles Langham, who is a dear friend of mine who was here on Valley Happenings, what did we say, a long time ago.
Yes, I think so.
He's been a judge forever, but, and I've been here forever. But Judge Langham, you're taking this place. Now, what do you hear? What kind of cases does a district court judge hear? All?
Well, there's kind of divided into 5 different types for district court. They have traffic as well as what's called district criminal, which would be preliminary hearings and also misdemeanor criminal cases that happen in the county, Morgan County.
Okay.
There's also small claims cases that are heard, which when it reaches a certain amount, that amount is what's called a small claim.
Okay.
And there's also district civil, which are civil cases, which actually they raised that amount up to $20,000 is the demand amount that you can hear now in district court. They changed that amount, I think, 2 years ago, the legislature did.
Is that somebody suing somebody, or is that a divorce? Or?
Somebody suing somebody in a car wreck situation, for example, that's where that kind of can come up.
Okay.
And that's
Is it
that
a
type of
jury?
case. No, it's a judge only. Now the case can be appealed to a jury trial. Most of the cases that are heard in district court can be appealed to a jury for a jury in circuit court to hear.
Okay, so how do you get your cases? Who presents? Which judge gets which cases? Could you get a criminal case?
Well, yes, I was gonna say there's one more type of case called juvenile delinquency cases, which are the JU cases.
Okay.
Which those are your juvenile crimes, but as well as your juvenile dependency cases, which are the cases we hear about potentially termination of parental rights. DHR is involved. Those type of cases as well. That's the juvenile court aspect of the district court that people hear about. So cases are assigned, generally I think the judges work together to decide how they're gonna assign the caseload.
Okay.
Judge Waters is the presiding judge, so she would be the one I think that decides how the caseload would go for the
She's
for
been
the
on my
judges.
show too.
So yes ma'am, so she would be I think the one that, I think the judges would ultimately probably work as a team, but I would yield to what Judge Craig and Judge Waters wants me to take.
Okay, so now, like a murder case in Morgan County wouldn't go to a district judge.
Well, actually, if they've been charged with a murder, they're going to start with a preliminary hearing.
With the
With
judge.
a district court judge. And their first initial appearance will be with a district court judge, because that's typically when a district court judge sees them. If they're going to file an indigency set of paperwork, they're going to just also assign them a lawyer. They're going to get their lawyer, potentially have a preliminary hearing. That judge will decide if it's going to be bound over to the grand jury for indictment. Then from grand jury, it goes to circuit court.
And the district court judge is the one where you start, then you go to the grand jury.
Right.
You recommend the grand jury.
Right. You said it's bound over to the grand jury if you find probable cause, and then if a district court judge doesn't find probable cause, then you dismiss the case.
Okay, do you hate the TV lawyer movies?
Well, it's funny, I taught the police academy last week. I always teach at the Decatur Police Academy. And I was down there teaching last week, and I told him, I was like, I'm just going to be honest. This is not going to be an hour's TV show. We're not going to wrap this all up in an hour. We're not going to come in, move all these computer screens around, solve a crime, because they have the clear screens, they move around. But it's what's been called the CSI effect a long time. I think that people think, and we even say that when people come to city court, unfortunately, you're not going to get your answer in an hour probably. It's going to take a little bit longer than that.
Before lunchtime.
So, but that's what people think is the TV shows, that's how really it is, when actually it's really not. TV shows, I think, give some good aspects to some things that happen in the legal world, but they give some unrealistic time expectations for sure. I will say
not
that.
An hour.
It's not an hour, and we're not with your TV breaks. It's not going to get done. It's not even a 30-minute Judge Judy either, so it's not.
Some of that I think is all pretend too.
Right, I think so. But it does give people a glimpse, I think. And I'll be honest, I still like to watch lawyer shows, because I think you sometimes, especially when I'm in front of a jury, you can get some great ideas from lawyers that are on TV, some ideas that they're using when you're talking to jurors. So just like people get ideas from you because of the TV, you're a TV personality, so people get ideas from you.
Well, I just love people, and I love getting new information across to all of you out there. And you can read an article, you can see a sign, but you can't really meet the person until their lips move.
Exactly.
Okay, you can get a feeling for what a person is like when you hear them talk, and you hear the enthusiasm in their voice. But again, and you have a son, one son?
Yes, I have one son. He just turned 11. And
He's been on my show.
He has. He wished me luck and said to tell you hello. He was like, "You're getting to go to Miss Suzie show. You're gonna have so much fun, Mom." So yes, he did.
What a great kid, and a science project, and they did very well with the science
yes,
project.
Yes, they did with the robotics.
But anyhow, it's a serious decision to become a judge.
Yes.
And it's a serious decision that you will have to make when you deal with cases. How can you separate that and then go home and take care of your family?
Well, actually,
you're going to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes, you do really, and especially my job right now. I've dealt with that through the years, and that's one of the things you have to first learn to separate. But For the past 6 years, I was our bar commissioner for Morgan County. And one of the first assignments I got assigned when I got down to Montgomery was I was put on the Alabama Disciplinary Board for the state of Alabama to discipline Alabama lawyers. So all of a sudden, I'm on a panel of people. There are 4 lawyers and 1 layperson on these committees that come in and decide if somebody's going to be suspended from the practice of law, they're going to be disbarred, or what's going to happen to them. So that's given me the experience of actually when you're sitting there and you know someone's livelihood, what they've worked for their entire life, you have the power potentially, this panel, to take away their entire livelihood. It is some sleepless nights, I'll be honest. Did we make the right decision? Is this the right thing for this person? So, but you have to just look at what the law states. I've learned that you have to look at what the law, look at what the rule states, listen to the facts, completely listen and give that person your utmost attention, and then put those together and come to your decision.
Yeah.
So that's what you ultimately have to do. And it's about listening to everybody that comes in. And everybody deserves a chance to come in and have that chance to talk to the judge, to have their side heard. They deserve the respect of the judge to listen to whatever they have to say. Because that's one of the things people come in all the time when I'm a prosecutor and sit down and say, you don't want to hear what I have to say. When you sell a ticket or something, say, actually, I do want to hear what you have to say. Because sometimes they might tell me something that I'm like, oh wow, that's a problem for us as a city of Decatur. We need to do a corrective action on that. But if that person would have never come to court, we didn't know that that branch was hanging too low, for example, over a sign that obstructed that speeding limit sign. So we didn't know that that branch was hanging too low until the person brings in pictures, and I'm like, you're right, you never saw the speed limit sign, so how would you have known that it dropped right there? That's just one of examples about how when you listen to people and what they have to say, I think we can reach really good solutions for problems.
Well, when you're in city court, any city court, you know, wasn't there a show called Night Court or something?
There was,
Oh my
yes. With Bull was my favorite.
There are so many people there that they're in the hall, okay? You know, the first time I went, because we had to go many times because we were prosecuting someone, I just sat there in wonderment, and the Judge Cook starts talking and said, you know, Betty, Fred, you know, all these people, are you here? Say yes. Nobody would talk. They weren't there. And I go, you got a subpoena, a piece of paper that says you have to be in court. What happens to those people?
Well, if someone doesn't show up for court, there's probably going to be a failure to appear warrant issued for their arrest. But a lot of times what you see, the people that we see over and over in city courts are just a small percentage of our population, honestly. So the average citizen, when they get a subpoena, they do come to court. And I'm very especially appreciative of this, especially in DUI cases, DUI wrecks. The citizens that come to testify, especially that saw the wreck, that it was not injured, that they blessedly were not injured in a wreck. So therefore, those are some of my true heroes. They show up and they come, they take time out of their work schedule to make sure that we see justice for that victim, especially in a DUI wreck.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Sure.
I loved when I was done and we were done, and Judge Cook said to my man and I, wish there were more people like you that came forward.
Right.
And you know, that's how it's time out of your day, and good people like that come, that were witnesses that come, that's time out of their day. They don't know if they're going to be at 8 o'clock or they're going to be at 5:30, and then they sit there, and I think that's important. Okay, the cases that we hear, and you know, the law, being a lawyer has been something you've always wanted to do, and doesn't every lawyer want to sit on the Supreme Court?
Well, I don't know if everybody wants that type of, but yeah, maybe they want to sit on the Supreme Court. So
Oh God, if I was a lawyer, that would be my goal, to be on the Supreme Court.
Well, I think it would be nice to sit on the Supreme Court. They move, the U.S. Supreme Court, you know, they kind of have a track of how they go through the federal system, but through the Alabama Supreme Court, you know, sometimes, you know, for example, some of the judges start out at the district court level that end up on the Supreme Court of the state of Alabama, or a court of civil appeals, our court or criminal appeals as well, all based in Montgomery.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when you hear the cases, you know, it's a variety of cases in district court.
Yes.
You know, it could be murder, it could be domestic abuse. Am I right?
There could be a yes, ma'am, misdemeanor version of that.
Okay.
Yes.
It could be a robbery.
A preliminary hearing.
Right,
Right,
you're all
yes, ma'am.
preliminary to send it to the grand jury,
For felonies,
but
yes,
they
ma'am.
hear you hear them first.
If they do have a preliminary hearing for felony cases, yes, ma'am.
Oh,
And
okay.
all the misdemeanor cases are held in district court. Just like in city court for the city of Decatur, we handle all the misdemeanors for the city of Decatur.
Okay.
So, but if we didn't have a city of Decatur municipal court, they would actually go to the district court of Morgan County. So
Oh.
any place that doesn't have a city court
Goes
goes
to the
to the county court to be heard. The
Are
case
we
does.
unique in having a city court?
No, most cities do
Oh,
have,
okay.
but we are unique in the sense that the city of Decatur has a full-time municipal court. My position as a full-time city prosecutor is unique. Generally, the bigger cities such as Birmingham, Huntsville, Madison, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, they all have full-time city prosecutors, but most city prosecutors are part-time attorneys that come in and prosecute for court that's held maybe once a month, twice a month, and that's it.
That would take forever.
So they just that's where you get night court, and I've done that when I was in private practice.
Night court.
Yeah, I traveled all over the state and went to court at night, and then I would sometimes be at court at night until Wednesday night late somewhere, and then have to be at the city of Decatur at 7 a.m. for a trial at 7 a.m. in the city of Decatur. So that's just one of the things you learn. Municipal court schedules are all types of different schedules depending upon where you are. So that's different.
Do we go now with the COVID and everything going on? What happens? Or do people have to wear masks in court?
We do have masks for court. We have actually redone our courtroom a little bit. We have plastic actually up that divides the public from where the judge is. We've put up microphones up so people can hear each other better when we're talking in court. We've actually gone down to our courtroom now. It will only hold 12 people at a time. So we set cases, for example, right now with traffic, we're setting cases at 8, 9, 10,
okay.
11, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. We used to say, you're here at 8:30, your case will be heard sometimes, hopefully before lunch. Now it's, no, your case is here held at 8 o'clock, you need to be here at 8 o'clock. That's when your case
I
is
had to
scheduled
be there
for.
at 7.
Right, there is some 7 o'clock court thrown in there as well, so. But yes, ma'am. So
All
that's
right.
how we're doing it now, and we're working through the process because there are a lot of
Is
cases.
it 5 days a week?
Yes, ma'am. We're 5 days a week.
It used to be 3 days, wasn't it, a long time ago?
A long time ago, I think it might have been 3 days. Since I've been working at the city of Decatur, it's been 4 to 5.
4 to 5 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
That's good.
it is now the system that's a lot better for everybody because people aren't hanging around
right.
and they're not in the hall. I mean, people bring friends and they're in the hall. And do they all have to wear masks?
Well, we're actually trying to limit it to just the person that's actually been charged.
Okay.
So then they are the only ones in actually the courtroom. We're trying not to ask people to bring somebody with them.
Yeah.
So to try to get down on that number of people in City Hall.
Right. Okay, well, everybody, I'm just so thrilled that you got to meet Emily Baggett. Okay, she is running for district court judge. It's a runoff on July 14th, and there's a lot of reason to vote on the 14th. There's
Yes.
other runoffs
Yes.
on that day, so you won't just be voting for one thing, and that's a county-wide.
Yes.
This is not just a city of Hartselle or Priceville or Decatur. This is a county vote.
It's
So-
actually, there's 3 races on our ballot. It's the Senate race of Tommy Tuberville and Jeff Sessions.
Mhm.
Then we have the Court of Criminal Appeals, which is Beth Kellum and Will Smith. Then there's my race, which on March the 3rd, I received 43% of the vote, and that's why we're in a runoff at this point.
Yeah. And you have to receive
50 plus 1.
so
I was close, almost there. So I would love I ask for your votes on July 14th for sure.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I'm just excited that you got to meet Emily and you see her picture. Now you know what she's all about. So thank you, and thank you for loving the law.
Thank you so much. It was
You're
good to see
welcome.
you.
Alrighty, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Are all these people going to Lynn Layton?
Yeah, there's so many people every day that this is my whole route and my only destination.
Where do they all come from?
Oh, they pick them up from all over town. Downtown, suburbs, countryside, everywhere.
Do you pick them back up at Lynn Layton?
Never. Don't have to. They always buy a car, truck, and drive themselves home.
Why do so many people buy from Lynn Layton?
Hey, it's simple. You see so many because they paid so little.
Lynn Layton Chevrolet in Decatur.
The thing about enduring furniture from townhouse galleries, like this Stickley dining room set, It's made to last for generations, to pass down to your kids and grandkids. Gathering around it brings to mind tastes and smells from a time you wish you could bring back. When buying furniture, buy the best. If this table could talk, it would tell your family history.
Uniquely Townhouse Galleries.
Make your home project a dream come true by shopping at the Habitat for Humanity Restore at 1123 Central Parkway in Decatur. Select remnants from building projects, overstocked items, and slightly damaged new merchandise. New and used donations arrive daily, from furniture to appliances and from electronics to doors. The Habitat for Humanity Restore at 1123 Central Parkway will save you a boatload.
On February 15th, 1997, Smith Motors opened their first used car lot in Decatur. And for the last 40 years, Smith Motors has been the walking man's friend and will be the walking man's friend for the next 40. Smith Motors is filled with the finest hand-picked quality used cars, trucks, and SUVs in the state. No high prices, an experienced sales team, and on-the-spot financing. And for the rest of the story, get to Smith Motors today.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is the time of a political season, and all of you, it's time to meet candidates. And, like I told you at the beginning, I'm just so proud that, people have always accepted my invitation to come on. And now we're going to meet Kevin Kusta, who is running for the position of, and I have his paper here, I got this in the mail, District Court of Morgan County.
Yes, ma'am.
So Kevin is with us today, and we welcome him, and we're going to talk about him. And all of you, we've measured all this, and we're kind of like 6 feet apart. Don't you feel? Don't you feel like I'm so far away? But when you see it on TV, it looks like we're in a different county.
Oh my gosh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now Kevin, the job of district court judge, it's a Morgan County job. You represent everybody from Morgan County. I mean, the people that will come on will be only from Morgan County?
Yes, what would end up happening is if, depending on the type of case, you've got the whole county. So what happens is anybody in Morgan County can vote for the district judge. So it's
Correct.
not like the cities where each have their mayors and their own city councils.
Right.
The whole county will be voting in this election.
Right.
It's a state position though, but the whole county will be the one voting for just this position. And what happens is you would be representing people who get in trouble in the county or have residents of the county, or if an incident happens in the county.
Okay.
So what happens is I would be representing all the people pretty much in the whole county.
All right. And we have 3 district court judges.
Yes, ma'am. You've got Judge Shelley Waters, you've got Judge Brent Craig, and then you've got Judge Charles Langham,
Yeah.
which is the person who's retiring.
Right.
And it's going to be that seat that we're running
And
for.
like we said before, that's a state law. Once you get to a certain age, you have to retire.
At age
What?
70.
Why is that?
I think it is to try to get just new new judges in, you know, because
New
a lot
thoughts?
of times, yes, what you end up doing is if you have the judges there for a while, I think they just want to bring in new judges every
Yeah,
once in a while.
I mean, there's new things that go on, new things. The world changes a little bit, you know, and there are different issues that come up and different laws.
Yes, ma'am. What happens is the legislature keeps passing laws, and the judges keep ruling on those laws, and so the laws change a lot. And you know, you would end up maybe this year you would have, you know, this is how we're supposed to handle the case. Like let's say an eviction or something, they say, hey, this is how you have to give notice, and then the judicial branch says, well, that's not proper notice, and then they give us new guidelines, and then with those new guidelines, we have to change the law.
And a judge interprets the law. You're reading, am I right?
Yes, what happens is there's two different thinkings. There is the conservative way, which is that you're going to follow the law as it's written,
Sure.
and you're not going to create new laws. And I am a conservative. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to interpret the laws. I don't think a judge should make law. I think that's what the legislative branch is for.
Is a judge allowed to make law?
There's some judges that believe they can. I don't think they should be able to. But sometimes you get some interesting rulings that.
Now, even judges on the Supreme Court, they're not making law; they're interpreting law. Correct?
Well,
And they're ruling on ruling.
I think you've got some of the Supreme Court that does do what I do, or would be considered a conservative, which is they're going to follow what the law is. Then you have what we would call liberals, which are there, in a sense, creating law that they see fit. So that's the kind of the two different people. You get conservative and liberal.
Okay, now you have been practicing for 16 years.
Yes, ma'am. I've been here in Decatur for 16 years of Ball and Custa PC. And mostly my entire practice has been in district court.
Oh, really?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now district court hears everything almost.
Yes, ma'am. There's pretty much 5 different types of cases that a district judge will hear. The first one is criminal, which would be misdemeanors in traffic cases. Your next one are juvenile dependencies. That's when the state or someone is removing your kids because you are an unfit parent. Okay, you could also have a grandparent or something can file something asking that the court
Sure.
remove the child because the parents are unfit.
And people fight for children.
Oh yes, ma'am. I do a lot of custody battles. I've been involved. I've represented grandparents, foster parents. I've represented children. I've represented about everyone possible in a custody battle.
Okay, so you have the juvenile, then
You've got juvenile delinquency. A juvenile delinquency is when a kid commits a crime. We keep those extremely confidential, okay? So even if you said, hey, Kevin, well, you're in court with Johnny, I'm going to say, I don't even know who Johnny is. So what happens is if a juvenile commits a crime, unless it's one of those that's an automatic transfer, like murder would be an automatic transfer, but all other cases would be in juvenile court. And there's completely different rules. There's completely different outcomes. Yes, we keep it very, very quiet. I represent kids in juvenile court
that have committed a crime.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what's a juvenile? I mean, on the TV shows, they'll change a child from 15 and make them an adult. Is that possible?
That is possible. A juvenile judge can do what's called a transfer hearing, which is, they said, based upon what we've done in the past, based upon the age of the child, and based upon the type of case it is, a juvenile judge says they're no longer acting like juveniles and they can transfer a child up to the adult court. But pretty much this magic number is 17.
17.
Okay. Now, there's also in probate court at 19 you're no longer a minor, but in juvenile court it's the magic number 17.
Okay, so then, did we cover all of them? Or
Well, then you've got civil cases, which is civil cases or district civil, which is $20,000 and less. Okay, so that would also be small claims, and what those are when a plaintiff sues a defendant for breach of contract or if damages to their car or something like that. Long as the total amount is under $20,000. Then that would be in that court.
So, like if you were getting a new garage and the contractor quit on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we also hear a lot, and I do a lot with what are called evictions. Evictions where a landlord owns a piece of property, and what happens is the renter's not paying the rent, and they have to remove that renter from the property.
Yeah. Woo! I mean, do you sleep well at night? I mean,
And then,
that's a lot.
and then really another big part of it is we do juvenile, we do child support and child custody. Okay, so what happens is that's child support if the parents are not married and they did not sign any documents. We would be filed in order to get child support. That would be filed in district court, and also if they don't pay, that would be a contempt, which would hear it in district court. And also if two parents are not married, that they would have their battle for custody would also be in district court.
Yeah.
So I even handle that. So every aspect of district court, I
You have
handle.
done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then, you as a judge would be sitting on the other side of the desk, but hearing from everybody of what you've done.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That gives me a great perspective
Yes.
because I know exactly. I've been in the other shoes. I have the experience where I've been in those shoes. I've represented those parties. I've represented children. I've represented parents. I've represented grandparents, foster parents. I've plaintiffs, defendants. That gives me a experience that you just cannot get just because if you just practice one type of law.
Right. You're rounded. You rounded yourself.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, do most law firms, are they rounded?
Well, you've got some law
Some
firms.
are just for, when you see the advertisements on TV, they're only for a certain kind of case. Your law firm seems like you're rounded.
Yes, ma'am. It's the law firm's called Ball and Custa PC. Now, Ernie does strictly real estate. So
What's
he
PC
does
mean?
professional corporation. It's
Oh,
just
okay,
like an
PC.
LLC.
Like an LLC,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
so you're a PC.
So he does strictly.
See, look what we learned. Kevin taught us something already.
Hey, that's great. He does strictly real estate, which is closings and
Right,
refis,
okay.
and then I do everything else, pretty much anything dealing with litigation.
Yeah.
I will also do probate work, which will include when someone passes away.
Yeah.
I also do, one of my
That's
favorite things are adoptions. I love watching those forever families.
Oh, that has to be like just the greatest day.
I love representing kids.
Yeah.
I really think that kids are those need to be protected the most.
And what we hear today, Kevin, it's so sad out there. I mean, kids, meandered around, kids on the street.
Well,
It just breaks my heart.
and there's a lot of great organizations. You've got social workers. You've got CASA working with these kids. You've got guardian ad litems. Those are attorneys appointed to represent the kids. But you're hoping to protect the kids. That's number one. I says number one thing
That's
is
our
we've
job as a
got to
community.
protect the kids. And then what you're wanting is you want a success story. You want them to get stability. You want them to achieve. You want them, the kids going to be the ones that, I've been a part of those cases. I've seen it where I've had a kid that lived in a very unhealthy place and they're graduating from college. I'm hearing the stories where I've had kids that were a part of an abusive relationship, but now they've been adopted by the foster parents. Those are the cases that I love.
The good cases, the cases. Well, wow. I didn't know all of this about you. I've known Kevin for a while. He came into Bill in my life, back in September, October.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
came into our lives, and I really have never sat down and really know what you do. But my goodness, what a well-rounded.
I pretty much have
experience.
always been this way. I says, look, if you have any questions, feel free to call me. I am one of those people. I said, you like me or you're not going to like me, but I'm going to shoot you straight. I'm going to give you the answers. You might not like my answer, but I'm going to tell you what this is what's going to happen. This is, if you do this, this is what your punishment's going to be. And so, and that's how if I get this job, I'm going to be the same way. I'm going to tell you.
Oh, I think so.
I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm going to say, these are your problems. This is what we need to try to fix those problems. And, sometimes you're not going to be able to fix them. And then you're going to have to do what's called like a termination on parental rights case, where you terminate parental rights so that the foster parents can adopt or so that the child can get permanency.
Do we still have the Advocate Center?
Yes, ma'am. The Child Advocacy Center is
isn't
right
that wonderful?
there. Yes, ma'am, on Grant Street. And that's one of the resources that we have to rely on a lot, because they have the training to address a lot of these issues.
Yeah, I mean, when it opened, we went down and not to talk to children, but we saw the setup and everything, and the importance of it for a child. Putting a small child in a chair in a courtroom has to be absolutely intimidating.
We try to stay from putting kids on the stand.
Right.
Like, over the years, sometimes the children want to. I've had cases where the child says, I would like to have my day, and I would like for them to know. And sometimes what we try to do is we try to say, okay, can we do that with just the judge? And sometimes we will go in there so the kid can say, hey, this is what I feel, this is what I want. We want people to be heard. We want people to have their right to express what they want. And especially when it comes to children, that's the reason you usually have your CASA advocating for the children. You also have a guardian ad litem advocating for the child. Now, I always tell people what's in the best interest of the child might not be what the child wants. It's very...
As a child, I mean, if the child is 7 years old, you take 365, divide and multiply it by 7, and they're not very old.
No, ma'am.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
When you start saying, it's a child.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a child. And that's what a judge in the courts do, is you have to protect children.
Yes, ma'am.
Protect them from themselves.
Yes, a lot of times you might, most of the time when you're dealing with these children, they want to go home. They want to go home, and they want to be with their mom, they want to be with the dad. But a lot of times the parents are on drugs, or the parents have abused the child, and that's not safe for the child. So if you ask them, says, what do you want to do? Well, I want to go home with dad. I want to go home with mom. We're like, well, your dad and your mom have to take care of themselves right now. They don't need to be worried about taking care of you. This is where you're protected. This is where you're safe.
Wow. Wow. And that's what a district court judge does. You hear these cases, and you've done those cases.
Yes, ma'am.
You've done them for 16 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I've pretty much been representing kids for 16 years. I've represented pretty much
and
did
lots
everything
of
without being.
people came to you and said, run for this.
Yes, ma'am. A lot of people in Morgan County knows my background. I've been really supported a lot by the attorneys in Morgan County. I've got a lot of them backing me. I've got a lot of people with law enforcement backing me. I've got a lot of the social workers and those advocates for children backing me.
Wow, I've known Kevin for a while. I didn't know all this. Well, Kevin, I thank you so much. And again, this is District Court Judge. It's the 14th of July when you vote. Okay, so go to your place and vote. And do you want to ask people for your vote? And you can look right there at the camera.
First, I want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I'm always trying to go find places where I can tell my people the information that I have. They can go to my website, kevincusta.com, and look up my information and my background. Also, you can go on Facebook, Kevin Custa for District Judge, that has my information. What I'm asking for is your vote on July 14th. I'm a Christian conservative, and I would love to be able to represent you in district court.
in Custa. K-U-S-T-A, Custa. Alrighty, well, we're going to take a break, and I'm going to share with you an interview that I had a couple days ago, and I think you will find it very, very interesting. It's about helping our veterans and also our animals. So we'll be right back.
On February 15th, 1997, Smith Motors opened their first used car lot in Decatur. And for the last 40 years, Smith Motors has been the walking